I've just opened up my notebook as well here, with like written down like the intro bit, and the intro one I've written out happens to be when we did the test of honour, the Sengoku interview. So just pure fluke. But anyway, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to this, the Odd Side of Dice podcast, a podcast that follows the two middle-aged, we'll have to call them now, gamers, as they delve into the myriad of games that are available today, all the choices that we've got to us all. Whilst doing that, we'll also be looking back at some older games that we've dusted off the shelf and looking at them again. Anyway, joining me on this, I hate doing the intros. But joining me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Kieran Byrne. Kieran, how are you doing, mate?
I'm very well, my friend. Very well indeed.
I think we're going to have to just record one of them and just stick it on the front every time.
I think it's got because it's slowly but surely it's dying off with the level of bravado you deliver it with. So I think we need to do it, or we need to get a voice actor in to do it. I think, or someone who could do voices like we talked about last time, didn't we?
Yeah.
Didn't we talk about having someone who could do
Brian Blessed
impressions, see if we can get them on to come and do it or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens, won't we? Yeah,
anyway,
so
join us as well today for third time, Graham. You've been up returning.
Second, I'm not sure. Maybe third. Yeah, could be.
Yeah, returning guest, a friend of the show, Mr. Graham Davies. Graham, it's lovely to have you back on the show. How are you doing?
Hi, very well, thank you. Pleased to be here.
Well, I think last time we had you on, which was probably about a year ago, maybe not quite, but we'd be getting on for that, and that was, we were talking about your then just recently released to the world, which was 0200 hours, which is now nearly to be released upon the world as we speak. So first things first, for anyone out there who doesn't know, can you tell us a little bit about what 0200 hours is?
Sure. Okay. Quick overview. 0200 hours is a skirmish game set in World War II, and specifically about nighttime raids, commando raids, where you always have a defender and an attacker. So the commandos are sneaking through the darkness, trying to avoid being spotted by the sentries, and sneaking into to achieve their objective, blow stuff up, whatever, and then usually there's a big firefight before they get to run away.
Yeah. So I mean, as we speak, 14th of April now. I mean, you haven't yet given away a date, but we are talking sort of fairly imminent, aren't we? I mean, it's relying on bits and bobs at your end, isn't it?
Yeah, essentially. I mean, the thing we're waiting on, the only thing we're waiting on, is the plastic frames.
Yeah.
So the game's got British SAS and German sentries in, all multi-part plastics, and they're being made in partnership with War Games Atlantic. So the tooling is done in China, and then they fly those across to America and do the production in America, and then eventually that's got to be big boxes of plastics are going to be shipped over to the UK for us to put in the final packaging. So we're halfway through that process at the moment. We're waiting for as far as I know, the molds are imminently arriving in the US. They were sent a while ago, but international travel at the moment is a bit random.
Yeah, it's all a bit.
It's possible they're stuck in customs somewhere. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it seems. I mean, we've had this conversation with umpteen people. It's just things to be. I mean, I think we probably had this discussion as well before, Graham. But it's like it is literally the thing that's holding everything up in the world at the minute. Well, in the world of toy plastic soldiers, anyway. But yeah, it's just the whole shipping side of things, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I do have some samples, which is very exciting. Those are just ones that have come straight from China, so we don't have any of the production shots yet. But so everything else is done. All the printy stuff has gone to printers. The dice are done. Lots of them are sitting in my kitchen. Cards are, I think, en route in pallets worth of cards.
That was going to be me. I think obviously, I mean, I think everyone who's been following the Facebook group and stuff have seen, like, you know, renders of the miniatures and everything like that. And obviously, did you say there's going to be like 20 of each? So 20 SES and 20 German.
Not quite. There's in the starter set. There's going to be 30 models total. There's 18 sentries and 12 SAS.
That would make more sense, yeah. But so, other than the figures, what else we're going to get in the box?
So there's a very nice rule book. I've got a little sample here of the rule book.
I'll just similar to that one there.
Oh, just like that one.
Thank you very much, Graham. Oh, like you've never had nice things off Graham before, Kieran.
Oh well, Graham, to be quite honest, it's about time that Ian got something before I did, to be quite honest. Because I wasn't winding it in with him when we were a few years back, when we were getting to, like, you know, basically pre-release copies of, you know, version 2 of Test of Honor and stuff like that, and he was crying into his northern cornflakes up there, kind of thing. So for him to get one out from me, you know, I'm all right with that. I'm not too bad with that.
Okay, so rule book, obviously. There's a deck of cards. There's a punch board. Looks like that. That's a finished one. With all your counters for everything. And yeah, lots of toy soldiers. Oh, and the dice, of course.
Dice, yeah.
Got any of those? I haven't got any of those handy, but yeah, 2 colours of dice.
Well, we'll come back to the dice in a little bit, because obviously we want to talk a little bit more. Actually, the next sort of point we might kind of touch on them, because I was just sort of like, obviously I mean, we touched on Test of Honor before, and the Test of Honor rule set is almost like the parent game system, isn't it? So, I mean, well, first of all, how did you come up with the idea of doing the night fighting World War II raid style things? And like, it's almost like a little bit of like, sort of like the development side of things, about like how Test of Honor turned into 0200 in the briefest. I don't want to. Yeah, I'm saying this now. Who could have Graham pinned down all night with this one question?
Yeah, try and answer that meandering question as short and as concisely as possible. Yeah, there we go. Don't try to go off topic whatsoever.
Honestly, at this point I can't remember where the initial inspiration came from at all. I've got a big notebook full of every page is an idea for a different game, because, you know, it's easy to come up with random ideas. The hard part is turning them into actually something that works. So I've got a notebook full of ideas, and one of those pages was doing night fights. In terms of kind of the kind of rules, mechanics, the evolution, I want it to be the same kind of size and shape of game. So in terms of kind of numbers of models on the table, how long it takes you to play, size of board, and just keeping that kind of easy to pick up. I think what a lot of people like about Test of Honor is it's very quick and easy to learn, but hard to master, I guess.
Yeah,
I wanted that kind of, I did a lot of work kind of to refine things down to try and make it as quick and easy as possible to pick up. And I mean, in terms of actual mechanics, there's not a great deal left of Test of Honor there, really, apart from really the initiative system.
Yeah.
So it's that same draw system, drawing counters out of a bag, and assigning them either to your normal guys, which are called troopers in this game, or your characters. And then again, there's the three, we call them time tokens in this one. And when the third one comes out, that ends the turn. And again, the first two allow you to draw cards. So that kind of general structure it will be familiar. But beyond that, really everything is new.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing quite a bit of it the last couple of weeks, and it's very, very familiar. But the more and more I've got used to it, the more and more I'm getting attuned to sort of the differences in it. It's like we're talking about the dice in a way are very, very different. They're almost like, it's almost like you've turned the whole thing upside down with the dice. And it works amazingly, and it works in the same way as Test of Honor, but in a totally different way of Test of Honor, if that makes any sense. Just, I don't mean about the two different types of dice, it's just obviously the way it's like on Test of Honor, it's like it's the skill that you number the number of dice you have, isn't it? And this, it's the number is what you need to roll, and it's the same thing, but it's like I've said, flipped upside down, isn't it?
Yeah, one of the very first kind of snippets that made me think, oh, this could work was that idea that whatever you were doing, you'd roll some dice, and there was one face on that dice which would give away your position, allow the enemy to spot you, which we end up calling alerts. So immediately you couldn't. It didn't work using the Test of Honor idea, where the better you are at something, the more dice you roll, because then that would make you more likely to get caught. So right from the word go, I had to kind of, as you say, flip that around and use a whole different system. So you always use the same number of dice, but your stack allows you to more of the dice faces to be successes.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the flaws I did. Obviously, you were saying about having different dice, so I went out and bought a big pile of blank dice, and I think I had my Test of Honor head on. I thought to myself, oh, you never have enough dice with Test of Honor. So I did. I handed, and because it's a white dice, the blank I got, and obviously we need two different color dice, so I ended up like sharpieing the white dice just with the images on, then colouring in and I did 10 of each, and it wasn't until I started playing I thought to myself, I very rarely need more than 5 all together, white and black. So I've got mountains and mountains of dice that I've never even used yet.
So,
but no, it is.
That's the shoot going up on one, isn't it, mate? Just really.
Oh yeah, I mean,
what can I get for this? And so,
it's almost like I had read the rules
it,
at that point.
Yeah.
So anyway. One thing, we've got the attackers and we've got the defenders, and they're playing the game very, very differently. So I think looking first at the attackers, which I think is probably what everyone will be doing when they pick up the box, because they'll be going, oh, lovely SAS, sort of. They're almost like where the character is. So, I mean, can you just give us a little bit of a sort of a rundown of what, because again, the cards and everything are very different for the attackers and defenders as well, Graham, aren't they?
Yeah, so as you say, back in Test of Honor, you draw one of those fake tokens in Test of Honor, and you draw a skill. So in 0200 hours, each player gets a different deck. The attackers have order cards, and generally those cards allow you either to take 2 actions within your 1 action, or allow two of your models both to take actions simultaneously. So and there's a few other sneaky things. There's a card that just allows you to pass your turn, which can be quite useful if you're waiting for a sentry to wander past, so you can go behind him. And then the defenders, on the other hand, they're drawing event cards. So there's kind of two things in there. First off is kind of things the defenders are doing actively, like changing the sentry's patrol route, or suddenly telling the sentries to turn around and patrol in the other direction, or putting barbed wire somewhere or something like that. But also just random pieces of bad luck for the attackers. So the moon suddenly comes out from behind a cloud, and someone gets spotted, or just loads of random things like that. But for the purpose of the game, the defender gets to play them as a kind of gotcha card and decide exactly when those things happen.
How many event and order cards are there going to be in the box separately? Because I'm just playing with what's on the.
Now you're asking.
Yeah, roughly. Sorry, Graham. But as I'm saying, obviously, I'm just playing with what's on the on the Facebook group, which in the files, and I think there's there's like 15 order cards and 20 event cards or something like that, isn't there? So
it's probably around about that, maybe a few more event cards.
Yeah.
There's 80 cards in all in the starter deck. But that's your kind of recruitment cards, orders, events. There's veteran cards as well, which allow you to kind of customize your soldiers a bit more and make them gradually better. But they're on release. We're bringing out 2 expansion boxes as well.
Yeah.
So there's going to be an expansion box focusing on the Germans, which has got all those lovely metal characters in as well, and one for the British, which various British metal characters. And each of those has got another 24 cards in, I think. So obviously the German one gets loads more events, and the British one, you've got loads more order cards in there.
So a similar sort of thing we do with the test of honor stuff, isn't it? So
it works kind of in that same way.
I mean, as I'm saying, we touched on the dice and the way the dice work. I mean, I think it's probably that's probably something we should really look at as well, because obviously that is the crux of the game in a way, isn't it? The way the dice work, the white and the black ones together. Sorry, my son is hitting us on my leg here. I don't know what he wants. So so obviously we've got the white dice are your loud dice, and your black dice are your stealthy dice, aren't there? So, and then whatever that action you're generally going to do, it's going to have more white dice and more black dice. So I think the sneak maneuver, which is an attacker's because in the attack, the movement phase, the attackers, there's like a generic. I'm telling you, Graham, I don't know why I'm telling you what the rules of your own game are. Yeah, but obviously you've got advance, which everyone can use, haven't you? And then you've got sneak, which is sort of like the attacker's stealthy move, and I'm going to have to I'm going to pause this. Sorry, lads, I'm going to have to put him back to bed because he's doing me head in. Should we just Kieran? Should we just carry on and just?
Yeah, well, we can just carry on. I can just carry on and just just clip something in.
We'll pick it up from the dice. Noah, get out. Come on.
So let's just so you talk about the attack rules. So I'll tell you where we go from there then. So let's have a look. You talked about in the set that you've got akin to what you've got in other games. Like you've got the general troops, as you call them, and then you've got the characters.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're looking at setting up what would be probably, I'm probably right in saying that the majority of the time, the people you're actually going to be playing the game, you're actually going to be playing as attackers, and the defenders are going to be maybe a little bit more of a AI style, you know, and opposed forcing kind of style, which is maybe either can be controlled by another player or maybe can be run by mechanics that you've laid out in the game. Is that going down the right alleyway with that?
The as it's presented, the core game is intended for 2 players.
Yeah.
So the defenders do have plenty of decisions to make. They're making rolls all the time to see how well the sentries are doing, which way they're looking, trying to spot the attackers as they creep around. And as I said, they get the event cards coming in and trying to play those to help their cause. So yeah, it is intended as a versus game where you have 2 players. Few people have asked whether you can kind of essentially have a solo mode, and I think I haven't tried to write that yet. I think it's a reasonably easy thing to write and kind of switch the game to. So I think that could, if it works out, kind of be a kind of a little PDF that I can put out down the line at some point, to create a solo mode and have the sentries working kind of, as you say, as an AI system. But that's not how the game is presented.
So looking at the, sorry, Matt. So looking at that, then when we look at that going forwards, then, so how would your players go about setting their attacker and defending forces up at the start of the game? Like what amount of choices have they got to be able to make with regards to the trooper cards and the character cards, etc.? Or is there maybe something within the game where each different mission has a different set of criteria with how you can set forces up?
Well, first off, within the core set, the defenders have got your basic sentries, they've got dog handlers, and they've got Feldgendarmes, which is the German military police, which all have kind of slightly different stats. So the dogs are obviously quite good at sniffing you out close range, and even if you're behind, whereas everyone else can only see to the front. The Feldgendarmes are a little less fighty, but a bit better at spotting people, whereas the normal sentries are the other way around. They're a bit better at shooting, essentially, but not quite as good as the military police at finding you in the first place. And then the Germans would also choose at least one character, usually 2 or 3, depending on how big the force is.
Yeah.
So there's a fair bit to choose there in the first place, exactly how you put your force together. And then as the game sets up, the defender's got to work out where the patrol route is. So you put down 6 counters around the table to create a route for your sentries, and they're going to work their way around that route, patrolling the perimeter. So there's a lot of decision making in terms of, well, how do you make that patrol route as wide as possible to try and spot the sentries straight away, or bring it in further. I think Ian's been finding this already. It's quite a tricky decision, working out what the best thing to do is.
I mean, that was one of the things when I first started playing it. And you've seen all the SAS and Commandos I've been painting up for the last year, and that's the bit I was like really excited about. And I think there was, I mean, and I've obviously painted a lot of Germans as well, but it kind of that part of the game, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe other people might be thinking this, kind of going like, oh well, yeah, they're playing the baddies, and it's almost like the game's all about the raiders and not the baddie. But it's not. The playing the defenders is like it's a really, really good part of the system. It's like, it's very, very different to like anything in the whole. It's almost like you have got the like you're saying that you put your route out, and and the stick to it to a certain extent, but then all it takes is like one dice and you spot someone hiding behind the fence and everything changes. It's just, I've found that bit so far one of the most rewarding parts of the game. And again, I think it's because I wasn't expecting to, because I think when you first explain it, it's almost like that, well, it's semi-automated, you know what I mean? You're not how much control, but that's the challenge, is because you haven't got the control to a certain extent. So laying out, because I think when the first couple of times I've done it, I've just done quite a basic route, you know what I mean? Just like a circle round, and then they follow it round, and then if your Commandos SES sort of trip that, well, again, it's all to do with the alerts as well. You know, I mean, you could be doing fantastic, and then all of somebody just, rolls an alert, and then you're in the middle of nowhere. But then it swings and roundabouts. When I was starting to get the hang of it, I think I put the like little mini battle report on, and I thought, I've got all my Germans round here, and I'll get them all. What was it? It's the butcher and bolt. The second, yeah. And it's basically the commandos out, the attackers are trying to get on as quick as possible, kill half the enemy forces, and get off as quick as possible. And my SES ended up, like, in the first round, basically they all basically had the laces tied together or something like that, and they were all on alert straight away. I think that the alarm was raised was in the first round, but because they'd hardly progressed very far onto the table, and the Germans kind of sort of realised where they were on that end of the table, so I'd put them all that end anyway. But then the Germans started like bumbling around in the dark, and you do get that sense of it. So they're walking, they're following the patrols, and then they're stopping backwards and forwards, and again, it's which way they're facing. But then the reserves came on from the far end of the table, and because everything was like less than a foot away from my like the attacker's end, the attackers bumbled the way through it by killing enough, and like the reserves. And again, it's just, there's no way. I mean, no game's formulaic, because that's the whole nature of game, and it's all, it's all dice, card, whatever driven. It's all luck, isn't it? There is skill, but I just think that the whole patrol thing, Graham, is a work of genius. I honestly do. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Both the Roman patrol and just the patrol route.
Yeah, the sentries follow the route, but your characters kind of move around semi-randomly depending on how well you're rolling with your stats. And yeah, I think one of the things I like is that even it would be easy just to have said, oh, once the alarm's raised, everyone can just move as they want, and it just becomes a normal war game. But I like the fact that you still don't have full control over everyone. They still don't necessarily know where everyone is. So if you can keep a few of your guys covert and they're still sneaky and not being spotted, you can still kind of sneak around, even though the alarm's been raised and there's firefights going off. And I think that makes it quite an interesting kind of new experience. That
definitely. As I'm saying, I think it was the wasn't like I didn't have any interest, but I thought myself, I think a lot of people would be going, oh, I want to do the SES, I want to do the Commandos, I want to do this, I want to do, and then again, and there's like, and it's almost like the baddies. But when you, and I think that's a lot of people would be sort of saying, there's like, oh well, you know, is it a two-player sort of thing? And it very much is. I think that's the main thing. I'm like I started painting up some desert SES last week,
Yeah.
and I got in. Warlord had the spruce sale on, so I bought a load of the DAC for the Germans, and I'm going to be, they're going to be almost more of my emphasis is going to be on me bad guys rather than me good guys. So it's yeah, I think once people get the hang of that, they'll be realizing that the defenders part of the game is as good a part as the attackers.
That's I'm really pleased to hear you say that.
Yeah, no, it's
obviously concern that people just would be kind of, I don't know, bored just moving their sentries around, not having any control over them. But I certainly tried to work hard to make that not the case. That was a good experience and lots of decision making and challenging role to play as well.
I think in actually the game in general, it's almost like obviously you have got more restricted controls being the Germans or the defenders because you've got your set patrol routes. But then likewise, when you put the patrol routes down, you're in control where that's going. It's not like a set thing. But then even with the attackers as well, you're still restricted. It's not like an ordinary war game. I mean that you've got to sort of like take yourself out of like playing it in full, like in your living room, and you kind of got to go, yeah, I know he's like only literally 10 foot away from that German, but it's pitch black, it's the middle of the night and you can't see them, and it's that sort of like abstraction. And once you get your head around that and the constraints that would have in the real world, I think it's not easy being the attacker. It's like there's still the whole nighttime fighting, restricted controls as well on that side as well, isn't there?
Yeah, I think as you say, I think it's we're very used to with wargaming. The vast majority of war games, you roll for your shooting, that's random, and your fighting, that's random, but movement generally in the vast majority of war games, you have complete control over where you go with your troops. So to make that a little bit random, or at least not have complete control over where you're going, as you say, takes a little bit of getting your head around, but it does make sense in terms of it being night, these being sentries, they're half asleep, it's the middle of the night, it's kind of rear echelon troops who may not be the most veteran experienced fighters you've got, so maybe they're not going to do exactly what you want them to do.
Yeah. It's.
I mean, because there may be. I mean, I know this is probably going back to looking at a lot of other game systems as well. That a lot of times in other systems it was probably beneficial if you were attacking force to actually get to the point where it was rather more about the old stand up and actually duke it out thing than have still carrying on, trying to have to be in some way a little bit sneaky and a little bit underhanded. So it's probably it's a lot that you built into the system. Not only that, it's not that beneficial to be that way about the game and be able to still use the sneaky rules, but also, like you said, you've also managed to capture the thing about the thing you were saying before, like the level of veterancy, the level of experience that some of these centuries and the field police and all that aspect, when they wouldn't have been frontline SAS, not SS, elites troops. I mean, I'm obviously sure that you could introduce a sprinkling of that into your defending force, of course, to bring it up. But you've also built into the game with it. So you've also built in a sense of panic and a sense of headless chicken into the force. That although there's stuff going on, people are going to be looking around going, well, what the hell is going on? Where's it coming from? What's happening? Do I go running towards it? Do I don't go running towards it? Do I have to, make sure that I stay here and keep out, and make sure that I'm still following what I'm supposed to be doing? And it's just that fine balance that you've managed to get into the system to be able to bring that a bit more to the fore, which is, from the reading in the slight bit of gameplay I've done with it, it's one of those things that I've enjoyed about the system, that it's not just a stand up and fight skirmish war game, really.
A lot of the work was finding that balance point between the attackers being able to just sneak around with impunity and do whatever they wanted, compared to the attackers having no chance because the sentries spotted them straight away. And some games still go that way. Sometimes, like you say, the sentries spot you straight away, and a big firefight erupts in turn one, and that can still work if you manage to spot lots of the sentries quite quickly. It might be a good idea to open fire and just try and take them out quickly. But yeah, a lot of the hard work was in kind of tweaking and fine tuning that balance, and particularly the random moves and the movement of the defenders. That was the trickiest bit. And one of the breakthrough points was putting in the idea that models can only see to the front. Mm-hmm. So you have essentially imagine a line just going through each model's shoulders, and they can't see behind them. But there's a chance as the sentries move, they might turn at the end of their movement, or they might turn at the beginning of the movement, and that opened up lots of interesting angles for the attackers to be able to try and sneak behind, or advantages if you're attacking from behind. Obviously, that with the Fairbairn Sykes knives and coming up, cutting throats from behind and stuff like that, and that really was a bit of a breakthrough moment when it suddenly started to work for the first time. Yeah. It felt right.
As I'm saying, it's really thematic all the way. It does feel like the few games I've had. I mean, I've had that moment when, I questioned halfway through. When you ask a question and you say it out loud and you go, "Oh no, that makes perfect sense." But yeah, I did like one of my commandos, I think it was my SAS sergeant, came forward and stabbed someone. I think he was just a straight. It wasn't from behind. It was just a straightforward. But I thought to myself, well, it's going to be a lot less quiet. I don't know. It was at a point when I probably didn't need to worry about being quiet. But I think it was more the fact that I hadn't really done any hand-to-hand combat. So I took him out, but he was in a pair. So I was thinking to myself, can I use, because if you take someone out, you can move 4 inches, can't you? To if you're the winner. Am I right? No.
I'd have to check the exact.
Yeah, something like that. But I think it's almost like that, almost like an advance after. And I thought to myself, well, can I advance to go around behind again? Thinking probably like women, wargy him. I was thinking, well, can I advance, use that 4 inches to attack him from behind and get me advantage from attacking from behind? I thought, well, no, I can't, because I've just stabbed his mate in front of him. By running round the back of him in the dark. It's not going to make any benefit for me. He's just going, oh, where you going? So yeah, it's that kind of, yeah, you've got, as me remembering that the advantage was only there from attacking from behind, because you're attacking from behind in the dark. It's not like you're not getting like a cheeky backstab sort of thing. So yeah, it was really, really good. One thing actually, going back to the dice. Now I finally got rid of my son. But something will happen.
That sounds nice, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I finally got rid of my son.
Got rid of my son. I've given him his tablet. You know, he's just sitting in bed playing on his tablet. But going back, yeah, the day. I mean, with obviously the chevrons, and then there's the alert and the what's the alert? Is it just a stealth one? The dark one. It's sort of like the to negate the stealth. The alert. It's
it's called stealth.
Yeah. So, but the medal effects I think is really good as well, Graham. And again, going back to Test of Honor, it's almost the equivalent of like a critical, isn't it? That would be like the similar sort of thing. But again, it's all very, and it was all like, going back to Test of Honor, it was all very much like the weapon you were using, because it was, again, you was using an attack roll. So, you know, obviously you were using like, what's the big katana called? I can't remember. You know, you got the slashing sort of effect or something like that on it. I can't remember exactly. But with this, the metal effects are on like almost everything. There is certain ones where there isn't, but it's like even on your movement, if you do a sneak, and again you could even on sneak you could still, you know, stand on a twig and you roll an alert. But isn't it if you get the metal effect, you can freeze? Yeah. So you can negate it, so you can kind of like, rather than moving at all, you just stand dead still, and it's almost like hold your breath and hope the German's going to walk past. And there's like loads of little things like that, which are, and again, there is effects on the weapons as well, isn't it? There's stuff like headshot and double tap and things like that. But again, it's like almost like a step up from. I can see the progression from playing a lot of Test of Honor, and I think it's like, but it's within the whole game, isn't it? And I think it's just, again, a lovely little twist. And it's not just necessarily, you're not waiting just necessarily for like your order cards or your event cards might be. There's always that little bit of, I can change this on every single dice roll I got. If I'm lucky enough to get a medal, I can get a little bit of a bonus, or I can just save me skin at the last minute. So there's that again. Kieran, you were talking about it. It's almost like what's the word? But it's like, you know, you don't know what's going to happen on every single turn. It's like almost the fear of creeping through the dark sort of thing.
Yeah, the way I always like to describe it is, or the way I described it to friends when I've been talking about that, is it follows that old adage that came about in World War II, that best laid plans don't survive past first contact with the enemy. So you can make as many plans as you want, but as soon as you get out into the field, all those plans go to absolute crap, and you've basically got to be reacting on your own. So that mechanic in the dice roll is also, because it's like you said at the start, because with a tester on the team, the more dice you had, the more chance you had of being good at something and then getting a bonus afterwards. So that's fair enough. But because we don't want to roll as many dice originally, because that gives us then the counteract that the more dice, the more chance you have of being found out. So it was a good way to try and build that slightly little bit of extra into anything that you do by having that, the medal face on the dice. So you can actually, sometimes you don't need really to succeed at the task you're doing, so you don't get the amount of chevrons you need from the other dice to be able to perform whatever task you're doing. But there's still something that happens in your turn if you get the medal token. So it doesn't require the action to actually succeed, but it can still build into the turn. So it's not just, I've just completely failed what I was wanting to do. There's always maybe something that might be occurring in your turn, even though it's not what you were planning for. You know what I mean?
But it's like, I think a lot of the movements is the medal effect. I think the one that goes across, is it all of them, or at least three of them, is the recon. So yeah, obviously
Yeah.
you advance, and if you get that medal, you can it's almost like you run to the corner and you duck your head around the corner and you have a look and go, there's someone there, or there's not someone there. Because again, it's another rule. It's not like you can just see someone. Then you've got to do another rule to see. You know what I mean? So it's really really good, Graham. It's really good.
Well, I think the thing for me was to, obviously it applies to Test of Honor as well, and really what I like in games is to create the story. If a game's just about rolling as many dice as possible and just maximizing your chances of rolling the right numbers, that's just a bit dull to me. So whether you win or lose, you should be creating a really good story with this, and lots of interesting things are happening. And like you say, you might give yourself away, but manage to freeze on the spot just in time, or you might be sneaking around the corner and suddenly manage to spot someone, or the sentry just turns at the wrong moment and catches you, and all these little kind of tweaks and different things that can happen. They won't necessarily happen each time, but you can't rely on them. But it creates the narrative, creates the story, and just hopefully will create some really fun, interesting games.
Yeah, I mean, we were saying it is so narrative based. I mean, you couldn't play this as a tournament game really, because there isn't it is so random. I mean, this makes Test of Honor look like some sort of proper hardcore tournament game, which we never ever played it as anyway. But it's like I mean, something I was just thinking about there, but we're talking about the dice, and there's some saying about the old Test of Honor, the more dice the better. But as I'm saying, one thing I was thinking of there, it's not necessarily how good your soldier is, how many dice you've got. It's the situation he's in. That's where your dice pool up, isn't it? So like say you're shooting let's say shooting with SMG, so it's like 3 noisy dice. But then if you're not been detected, if you're shooting from behind, I'm sure there's a way. Because I think with all shots, there's a way that you can get like any like shooting rules. There's always a chance you can get 3 extra dice, isn't there? There's like 2 black and a white, I think, isn't it? Yeah. So then all of a sudden you've gone from 3 dice, which is a lot. I mean, usually for shooting, you're only really rolling 1 on most of the time, like single shot weapons, aren't you? But yeah, so you could with an SMG, you could potentially be rolling 6. But the flip side of that is as well, that's 6 dice you could be rolling. Well, there's 4 of those dice that you could roll 4 alerts.
Yeah.
And it's not just affecting you, it's affecting all your mates around you as well. Again, but again, oh man, I keep thinking of amazing things in this, but that's another thing, alerts, spreading alerts out. Because I mean, it would be so easy to just go, oh well, he's been spotted. But then, obviously, let's see, you've got the alert. If you've got an alert and then somebody's next to you, like within 2, he's affected by the alert until he moves away, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But then if you roll multiple ones, it sort of like spreads it all around, spreads the love, doesn't it? So, no, yeah, I've actually, we were going to record this last week, weren't we? We couldn't for whatever reason, and I'd actually planned to have a game tonight, my first sort of face-to-face game, so I've actually cancelled my first game, but I'm really looking forward to it. My mate Gary here I was going to play with, he's been chomping at the bit for it, so hopefully we'll be able to get a chance to have a game soon. But it does, like you were saying, Graham, the solo side of it, it's because it's the draw mechanics, kind of almost like the draw mechanic, and also the there's a bit of AI built into the defenders anyway with the movement. So I mean, it's a much easier game to play solo if you just want to play it solo.
Yeah,
but
I think that the biggest challenge, I think, is what to do with the event cards, because a lot of them you kind of play, haha, you were going to do that, but you can't because I played this event card, and you didn't know I had it.
yeah,
So there's a bit of thinking in terms of how to deal with that. But yeah, you're right. On the whole, it wouldn't be hard to just create a little step-by-step AI of how the defenders work. There's definitely decisions to make, but you could kind of create a hierarchy of, or they always do that first instead of that.
yeah.
So I think it can work and could still be quite a fun game. I think you then need to give them some extra troops or something, because it would definitely make it easier for the attackers if you don't actually have a player kind of coming up with clever decisions for the defenders. But
well, when I was playing it the other week, I was very much trying to play, because obviously when you play in the solo situation, they try and, because it's pointless being single-mindedly on one side, because then it's a waste. But there's always, no matter how hard you try, you're always a little bit biased, and I found it was the event cards, and I was pulling them, and it wasn't like I was just ignoring them. I was just forgetting about them, because I think I was more focused on like what the order cards were, and it was sort of like, and I was kind of standing at the attacker side most of the time. I was kind of like running round, when like the reserves were coming on, but most of the time I could stretch across, and it's because like the order dice, the event cards are on the side, and it wasn't until I was coming around, I should have used that card on the last one. And again, I think there was almost like a compulsory sort of card or something like that. But yes, we're getting ahead of ourselves, aren't we?
Maybe just a little.
Yeah.
Right, one question I've got for you. Right, one question let's put out. So I just had to sneak off because I remember that I've got something in the cupboard over here that I thought, yeah, I better break it out. So again, this is building on maybe a lot of stuff that's been happening on the Facebook group, a lot of stuff that we've mentioned tonight about the good guys and the bad guys, so to speak. So obviously, just to show that there is some. I mean, I don't know how this is going to go down, because the thing you want, but not everybody was on the was on the old Allied side of the good side, dragging out my old World War II reenactment uniform there for a little bit, seeing as I was proper playing one of the baddies at the old cross-country pantomime that we used to do, which was World War II reenactment. So in the game that we've got set up, obviously we've got the SAS and we've got the German troops. How easy it is for those roles to reverse? So how easy is it for the Allied troopers to be the defenders compared to maybe setting up a more attacking German force, for example?
Yeah, I mean, you just switch things around, it's fine. I mean, there aren't recruitment cards for British sentries, and there aren't recruitment cards for German special forces in the box.
Yeah.
But the plan is to do stats for all those things. So just from the word, I'll just have them up as a PDF somewhere, so people can use whatever forces they want. Down the line, we can we'll bring out more expansion sets which could deal with those things in a bit more detail, with kind of special unique cards for them and stuff to flesh it out a bit more. But in terms of the basics of, yes, the stats will be available, and yeah, absolutely, just swap it around. It works fine.
I mean, I suppose you've got a little bit of a. I mean, I know this is another question that Ian's got on this list, but you've basically got probably one of the largest information pools to be able to pull from in regards to expansions and stuff that you can actually come up with in this game. I mean, because you know, even though we're talking about the first set, the box set being, I presume we're talking about, you know, Western Front Army. We're talking about mainland Europe and the like. So you don't even have to step out of that theatre straight away when you've got the potential for. I know you've got SAS in the box, but I know as soon as you put the game on, what you're going to do, you're going to have everybody, all our cousins from across the pond saying, well, why haven't I got 101st Airborne? Why haven't I got Rangers? Where's the stats for this? Where's the stat? You know, where, you know, everyone's going to have, well, where's my favourite special forces from the era? And also, if you say that we can, you know, we can swap it over, of course, you're going to have the people who play, you know, the German troops in World War II games who have got, you know, tons of models. They're going to be saying, well, where's my, you know, Gebirgsjäger, where's my mountain troops? Where's my, you know, where's my FJ? Where's the paratroopers for the, you know, right at the start of the war in the Low Countries and things like that. And that's even before you start moving into different operational theatres. That's before you move into the Mediterranean. It's before you move into Africa with, you know, Ian's Dak and Desert Rats going at each other. And then you've got Eastern Front, and then you've got Pacific Theatre of Operation. You know, the scope for expansion you've got with this game is pretty much going to keep you riding for, I think, the next few years, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it was so easy to stick. Actually, I think the thing is like when you think like we think like stuff like bold action, and the amount of times I've always thought to myself, oh, there's a Dak at the case in point. The amount of times I've always like, I really want to do a Dak army or an LRGG army, and it's never, you know, I've bought probably a couple of boxes of the plastic Perrys for both of them, and never ever I've given them away because I've never really done anything with them. But now I've just sat and painted 12 SES. I've got 15 DAC to do. I don't really need that many more. You know what I mean? I can buy a few extra characters and I can cherry pick the bits I want.
Yeah, so there's no kind of big barrier of having to create a huge army, is there? Whereas if you're playing bolt action, obviously you need a lot.
Yeah.
And sure, that it might well be a stepping off point for you to expand into a bolt action army, which is brilliant. But yeah, it will give you the opportunity to potentially have quite a few little forces for different areas, and very, very quick to put together.
I suppose as well, we'll not have the same question as we always. There's always that question. It's like once a week on the Test of Honor page. You know what this question's going to be. Is that, you know, so can I use like anybody with anybody? But I guess we can't have that in this one, can we?
Well, I'm not ruling it out. I have to say.
No, I think it's a game. It's the end of the day.
Because, as I've said, it's very much, you know, it's inspired by films as much as history, just like Test of Honor is.
Yeah.
So, you know, think of not necessarily the really accurate films either, just the kind of adventure, war adventures. Where Eagles Dare springs to mind. So immediately you've got British and Americans. You've got some of them were German spies. You had local partisans. So immediately you've got three different nationalities there. Why not have a German who's defected and is working for your side as well, and a local Italian who's come over, and you know, you can always think of some kind of crazy narrative story that could easily be a film script, and come up with a fun rationale for these kind of collection of characters to come together and go off and have a fight and a crazy mission behind enemy lines. It's classic World War II film territory.
It's a true story, and it's back end of the war. I think it's German air troops, Americans, and potentially resistance fighters attacking and I'm sure it's like a prisoner of war camp that's been held by the SES. So it's like the Germans are fighting Germans in that, and I'm sure it's a true story. I'm sure it's Americans in like just basic German troops against the SS. And again, I'm sure it's like a prisoner of war camp. That might be where the resistance fighters come into it. I don't know, but yeah, something like that would be a good one to do, wouldn't it?
You know, which when I was waxing on about that, I mean, I was just talking about military forces, but like Graham says, just brought resistance into the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if we're looking truly about what this game is, really what it boils down to, one of the main things it should boil down for the British side is the SOE, Special Operations Executive. That should be, you know, one of the main places where something like this would shine with these covert operations and stuff like that. And then you've got, you know, local people, you've got specialists that have dropped in but are just dressed as normal people, you know, agents that are already in place. And I love the fact that, you know, Graham brought up about the Italian who's maybe someone come across, because as soon as he mentioned that, all I could think of was, well, there you go, there's the hello scenario already written into the game, isn't it? So let's go with that one. We've got a green light for Gerber's little tank to be.
I was actually. I've got a 3. What is it that I can never remember the letters in German vehicles, but it's the 222. I think that's what Gerber's little tank was.
It's the SDKFZ W or something like that.
222, I think.
The 222 one, yeah.
When it was that, I've got a SDL file. I was like just looking for that very same purpose. And I mean, is it Artisan or is it one of the Copplestone do a French cafe owner and some French resistance girls wearing trench coats and berets. I was picking up. I've got the War Games Atlantic resistance fighters, and I was thinking of doing, like, you know, we talk about flipping the forces over. So I've got Sarissa did a sort of a single engined over the top wing plane a year or so ago, and I converted that into a Lysander. So I was thinking of using the SOE agent as the leader of the defenders, and then just having the resistance as the sentries. And then I thought, well, I could use my Germans, or I've got my Fallschirmjäger, something like that. They could be the attackers. So they're, like, you know, trying to defend the SOE agent as they get away, or it's the other way around. They've just landed or something like that. So I think that might be my next attempt at a game. So I'll see how that goes.
So we've talked a bit about, like, the mechanics of it, but because Ian, you've done this because you've been, like I said, having a few test games and stuff like that. So, Graham, let's talk about board size, shall we? Let's get down to that question, because it's going to come up. A lot of people are going to be asking about maybe board size, and from what I think, for the limited amount of stuff that I've done with the game, I think it's one of those games that relies, or it works better when you have a lot of terrain on the board. Is that a fair comment to go with? So if we were looking about, you know, somebody who's saying, well, you know, I want to understand, because obviously we don't get in the box that we haven't talked about, you know, there's not going to be any sort of like cardboard board like we have with GW games and stuff like that, because they come up with stupid sized boards and all the rest of it. And obviously on the Facebook sites, basically your friends at Sarissa have started up the 0200 section on the website to start, you know, with the support with the already vast amount of kits and stuff like they had, because they've been doing the World War II stuff for years. So what would your advice be to someone who is thinking of, well, we know that in every game, when you start out, you can use whatever you want. So you can use boxes to represent anything and all that to it. But we know, as the preferable magpies and gamers that we are, that what we want from our board is we want our board to look nice. But we want the board to be able to play the game. So roughly what level of terrain you would say probably gives, not the optimum, but gives you, is not too little, but it doesn't then take over the game. Maybe where's the sweet spot for what we're looking at for someone?
Well, to start with the board size, what I've been playing on and what the missions are written up for is a 3x3 table. So same as Test of Honor. It's I like it because it fits on my dining table. You don't need a kind of special big extra war game board to fit on top of it for a massive 6x4. And even if you do have a 6x4, you can actually fit 2 games side by side. So if there's 4 of you, you can play 2 games at once and still have some room down the sides for your cards and things like that. And certainly if you got terrain to play bolt action, you should very happily be able to condense some of that down onto a 3x3 table and have plenty. You're right in saying that it seems to work better if there's quite a lot of stuff to hide behind, kind of a good selection of buildings and walls and hedges and stuff like that. I think I put some guidance into the book in terms of setting up, and which kind of says to choose about 10 items, which could be a building, could be some woods, a couple of parked vehicles, or kind of a certain length of walls or fences. So roughly 10 things seems to work. And obviously for big open spaces are probably going to cause some problems for the attackers. But again, I wouldn't rule it out. It could still be fun, still dark after all, and having to sneak or run across some open spaces is a realistic challenge. So for me, I think it's better to try and set up your terrain to look realistic and try and feel like this is a proper encampment or factory area or whatever, rather than just trying to make it look fair and perfectly spaced out. So I think you get a better story out of your game if your terrain looks like a real place. So thinking about where the road is, the entrance, the gate post, and even just adding little items like the telegraph poles and signs, which make no difference whatsoever, but it just kind of creates that ambience and makes your table look more realistic, and it just creates a better story if the table looks good, doesn't it?
I think, like, for a games thing as well, I totally agree with what you're saying there, Graham, about like making it look like, because at the end of the day, you don't need line of sight to give yourself away, do you? So I mean, you could be around the corner and still. Yeah. But I think scatter, like bigger scatter sort of barrels and crates and stuff, and that's what I've been feverishly printing off all this week. But again, it's just that little bit of like. Did you see that ginormous crane I got from TT Combat, which looks amazing, but when you put it on the table, it's actually only 4 really small points of cover because it's like a foot in the air. So So I basically parked 2 auto blitz at both ends of it to get a bit of cover. But it's yeah, like sort of putting crates and boxes and stuff out, and I've been using that and like little walls and that kind of thing. So it's almost like it's that sort of stuff you can duck behind, isn't it? I mean, the buildings are there almost as a. Well, again, I think it is. It's more. It's the cinematic sort of side of it, isn't it? It's important, but I think it's just as important to make your board look good.
Well, one thing that is kind of, I guess, a useful illustration of how much terrain you want is that the rules assume that there's probably going to be some kind of cover in between you and your target. So rather than a penalty if there's something away, you actually get a bonus if there's nothing in the way.
Yeah.
So because it's less common to have a clear line of sight than it is for there to be some kind of thing blocking the way.
Yeah. It's the whole. It's like the clear view, isn't it? Rather than necessarily line of sight, it's having like a straight uninterrupted.
Yeah.
Like and that's where we were talking about like the bonuses with the extra dice. That's one of them, isn't it? But yeah, that's I can't wait to play a bit more. I'm really looking forward to it. You got any more questions, Mr. Byrne?
I was going to use one for. It was probably going to be one of the final questions. Was that obviously, Ian, you've been playing along with it since Graham, bought you off with a pre-release copy of the book, and I'm sure, Graham, you've been doing plenty of your own play testing yourself, and it's something that you touched back on to right at the start was the ability to tell a story within a game. So put yourself in that film, watching mode, and was there any sort of like standout moment you had in the games that you played that you think that really sort of, oh yeah, I could really see that happening as part of a blockbuster movie about the period or stuff, or something that you completely faffed on, or something that works far better than what you thought, or just some unending sequence of bits and pieces that come together that really made the game for you. It's another one of those questions that I'm rambling on about, and I want you to be as concise as possible. It's my turn, just like it was Ian's turn at the start.
I was going to say, I'm rubbing off on you there, mate.
I know, mate. I know.
Yeah, I think you have lots of lovely little moments happening in the game. Last time I was playing at Sarissa, which is always great because obviously they have their always have amazing terrain when you go to Sarissa, and we had a brilliant long running firefight, whereas through a kind of ruined shop front, and everyone else was kind of fighting and dying and sneaking around and doing stuff. And then these 2 opposing guys in this one spot, which just spent the whole game trying to shoot each other, kind of jumping up, firing their guns, and just not quite being able to take the other one out. So yeah, I think it's hard to pinpoint specific things, but it's full of little moments where kind of characterful things. I think often with the dogs seem. The guard dogs seem a lot of fun because they can sniff you out more efficiently, and there's actually a card which I put in the request of the Sarissa guys, where if the dog handler is killed, there's a chance the dog's gonna then run off and run amok and attack loads of people. So that's even potentially his own side. So that's one of my favourite cards.
I was going to say, he can attack his own side as well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, funny enough, I've just been listening to, is it Rogue Heroes, the SES sort of it's not an autobiography, but it's the official. It came out a couple of years ago.
Mm.
But like, I mean, it's just a lot of the stuff that the SES did. It was just so OTT. You kind of go, that would work, and this is stuff that really happened as well. So almost some of the stuff makes like the films look a little bit tame. But yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to work out how to get a Jeep into the game, Graham, or several Jeeps into the. Yeah. I've just bought a Messerschmitt. the first one I'm going to buy.
Motorcycles as well, because they're just World War II motorcycles are really cool. That'd be great to somehow squeeze some things like that in.
Yeah, I suppose you could probably only use them if like the alert's already been raised or something like that, couldn't you? So, but yes, that's things to come, I think, aren't there? So.
Yeah, maybe you want some kind of sub game for, so like, after the mission has been completed, there's the getaway. Let's see,
pick up in the Jeeps, that would be, or the LRDG. Like you have to get away at the LRDG trucks or something.
Some form of I don't know, Gaslands with World War II vehicles, isn't it? I suppose you could go on it that way, maybe.
A lot of the time when the SES were attacking like on airfields and stuff like that, they were only doing. I mean, obviously they had like 6 Vickers K guns on the Jeeps, but they were literally doing 5 mile an hour. They were just going really, really slowly. So they were going at walking pace. It was, I suppose, they're getting there and they're getting away is the bit. But obviously, using anything louder than, well, as I'm saying, an SMG, you get 3 dice, and that's obviously 3 white dice. But isn't it like if you use an LMG, or is it the medium machine gun? It's like automatically, like you get an automatic alert, don't you? And same with like rocket launchers, that kind of thing. And is a Piet deemed as a rocket launcher? I don't imagine they would make a lot of noise until they exploded.
I'm not an expert.
I think it's just a big spring. I think it's basically like one of those kind of like
yeah.
It's like it's a mortar, a handheld mortar, isn't it? But yeah.
I'm guessing it makes a fair bit of noise when it hits something, though.
I don't think it hit much, though. That was the thing. So. But no, I mean, one last parting question for me, Graham. Obviously, O200 spawned from Test of Honor, the Test of Honor mechanics, and you've touched on it before as well, actually. But have you started thinking about what else you could use these set of the basic mechanics? What I'm thinking of Test of Honor, thinking of O200. Is there another sort of something in the back of your brain you're thinking, oh, that would work for this and that would work for that?
There are many things in the back of my brain, believe me.
Yeah. Graham's now looking through his notebook, going, yeah, you can work for that, you can work for that one, you can work for that one. The notebook you got about earlier, yeah.
I mean, certainly the thing that comes up straight away is ninjas. Bringing the two things back together. So it'd be lots of fun to have ninjas sneaking around and in a kind of quite built up kind of samurai manor house or something, with kind of guards and the samurai himself without his armor, obviously, because he's been sleeping, and I could see that being lots of fun.
I never thought of that. That's amazing.
Yeah. The one I was thinking of, I thought if you boiled it down and were able to do it and make your attacker into one character, it would make a really good James Bond type proxy kind of thing to be able to use it. You know what I mean? So when James Bond's trying to sneak into the Dr. No's secret lab and stuff like that, and you could have bits and pieces. I think it would work quite.
But I
well
suppose
if
you
we were
could
able to do that.
do it so you could have your James Bond, but then you could have like some sort of like, you know, MI5 agents with them as well. You can have like all the, you know, the bad guy minions as on the other side. So, well, in a similar sort of vein, Kieran, I would think it could work well as like a horror game. So you've got like, you know, the young teenagers trying to escape the cabin, and then got all the, you know, the Mad Axeman or like his minions, you know, patrolling the forest, and they've got to get, or whatever scenario. But yeah, I thought it would work, because obviously against that stealthy side would work quite well in a horror sort of game.
Yeah, because you could have it like it's. I mean, I know it's been used and the license is already gone, but like doing like the Walking Dead thing when the survivors are trying to get into a supermarket or something to try and get some food out, and it's, you know, you patrol your defenders or your patrolling forces is just the old. You know, the shambling zombies moving around a little bit. You know, you can see that.
Wild West one as well. I think Wild West would work well. Not in the stealthy thing, just more like. I think it was a really nice system. I think would work well with cowboys.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
It's finding a niche that not.
Yeah, there seems to be. Everybody seems to be doing cowboy games at the minute. I was just thinking about that the other day. I was listening to the Two Fat Lardies podcast, and they're just aren't they in the midst of doing a new cowboy game based on like What a Tank, or it's called What a Cowboy or something like that, and obviously Dead Man's Hand's getting a lot of, you know, that's been out for a while, but yeah, it just seems to be.
Yeah, but you know, but people don't, you know, a lot of people don't realise that, you know, Mr. Davey in his younger, you know, less busy days, appearing in rule books for certain
the Old West,
Western type games, being there for one of those genre of games that a lot of people still play. I mean, I know me and my you know, little group of cohorts, we often break out Legends of the Old West and just have a bit of a rooting tooting shooting time kind of thing, you know what I mean? So, but again, it's like a lot of game. Once you've got a solid mechanic at its core, to basically then to be able to reskin that mechanic to use it in different systems is easier, because the mechanic is so solid, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
I mean,
that's your big pat on the back, Graham. That's a big pat on the back from me about how solid the mechanic you built with this game, so we can take it and use it for everything else that we want to use it for.
That's good. That's good. I mean, I always, well, one caveat to that is I always like to find some kind of mechanic that really just fits that genre uniquely. So I think, I mean, Legend of the Old West is a good example. It was pretty much the basic Warhammer rules of, except the one little tweak that went in was testing to see if you kind of dive behind a barrel when someone shot at you, and just that little change made it feel like you're in a Wild West gunfight, because you're immediately diving for cover the whole time. And that's one thing I'd get a bit bored if I was just literally just reskinning a set of rules all the time. For me, it's really important to find that little element that makes it properly feel like the mechanics really fit what you're doing.
So what's the one you've got in this one? Then have you found it yet, or is it in there? So what's, you know, you've made the statement now, so I've got to put you on the spot, unfortunately, haven't I?
Well, I mean, O200 is that whole new system, the entire stealth system. Really, it's I kind of describe it that the majority of war games are you move, shoot, and you fight. That really covers the vast majority of war games you like to play. Whereas this one, there's really a fourth kind of pillar of the game. Really, you've got to move, spot people, then shoot and fight. So you've actually added in a fourth kind of fundamental part of the game that you have to achieve and do. I think going back to for Test of Honor, it was the kind of free form. The mechanics are super simple, as you know, for Test of Honor, but it's the being able to spin on from killing one guy, spin on, and go and attack someone else. That's for me. That's the key mechanic which makes it feel like a samurai film, because the hero can spin around and has the chance of spinning around and killing 2-3 guys in one action, and that for me that's the one thing that just really works perfectly.
I mean, that's it between the two games. I think people will, draw comparisons between the two, because I think the whole chit pulling thing, which is you do at the start of every turn for both games, is essentially the same. I mean, I'm using Test of Honor chits in my bag at the minute. It makes no difference. It's just a chit, isn't it? But it feels very familiar, but it also feels vastly different. The way the game, it feels like it's come from the same stable, but it's an entirely different horse. Yeah. But I think it's amazing, Graham. I can't wait to get some proper games under my belt. And we just have to see what comes out in the I'm waiting for the expansions. I haven't got the game yet. So
yeah. See, I want more. Where's my special forces card? Yes, that's what we're waiting for. That's what we're waiting for.
Well, one little thing I'll sort of announce, because obviously I know you, Matt, and Jez are resurrecting the Three Swords podcast for Test of Honor.
When we can get everybody in the same room at the same time together. It's one of them ones. Yeah.
Well, me and Jez have been talking, and I think me and Jez are going to do a dedicated O200 podcast. So I think we're now going to have an Odd-Sided Dice podcast network now. So we're all going to be under the same umbrella.
Look at all those fingers in all those pies. Look at all those fingers.
We're going to have to get Graham to start sponsoring us now, because we're just obviously we'd start to be a little bit nepotistic.
Yeah. The Great for Now Games Podwork channel. Whatever Graham does, we'll do a podcast about it. Yeah, should we put it on that way? Yeah.
Well, we've just had a bit of a talk about what we're going to do. I think we're going to sort of keep it in a similar sort of format to the Three Swords podcast. But I think the working title is the Bolt and Butcher. The Butcher and Bolt podcast, cool. Which I think is mission number 2. But so keep an eye out for that. Can't wait. It'll be good. I'll just talk about Commandos and SAS.
Yeah.
And it won't be me doing all the talking. So.
Well, to be quite honest, if there was 2 people that I could stick in a room and put a microphone between, so like wind up and let you go and give you a subject, it would probably be you and Jez, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Because I think both of you can give each other a bit of a run for each other's money.
Yeah.
On the odd thing. So I think it's going to be good, that one. I can't wait to listen to what you come up with, So
yeah. So we're just getting our heads together about what we're going to do. So hopefully in the next month or so. Well, hopefully next month, I would like to think. And chances are we'll probably could sit down tomorrow and do one. It'll be absolutely fine. But no, I think we'll try and keep a bit of structure. And we'll see how that goes. But yes, looking forward to doing that. Talking more World War II.
Good stuff.
Brilliant.
Good stuff. Brilliant. Well, Graham, thank you very much for being, multiple returning a guest person. I'm sure you've got a plethora of interviews lined up with various different channels and content creators for going on about and talking about this with the imminent release of the game. I don't know. Are you bored of talking about it yet, or have you not started the
No, I'm not bored yet.
the old promotional trail? So,
but it's nice in your case, people I've actually met in real life, which is novel.
yeah, it's always easier. It's always easier. Yeah, and plus the fact you know what we're like because you've been here often enough anyway. So it's you know, no reference or no nothing, and no severe sticky questions and all the rest of it. So yeah, so good stuff. So we've been back. That's myself and that's Ian. So another hour and a half of inane waffle about the grand world that is wargaming. So like Ian says, the network is growing. So look forward in the foreseeable future to not only there being the Untitled Dice podcast, but also a couple of more game-specific podcasts that are going to be coming to the network itself. So hopefully we'll have a lot more content out there to share with you under our banner if we can finally manage to get everybody else to sort their calendars out and all the rest of it. So Graham, thank you. Ian, thank you, and everyone out there as well. Thank you for taking the time to listen, wherever that case may be, and go buy a new game when it comes out.
Yes, definitely, it's well worth it.